Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get together live here on Facebook every day of the week, where we gather headlines, comments, questions, ideas, suggestions, all kinds of topics that help us have a great life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English speaking locals. It is a pleasure to see you every single day of the week, and it is particularly wonderful to welcome new people, to new friends to our little get-togethers. So if you are new, my name is Paco, and we'd love to find out that you're new. You can let us know by writing the word new in your comment. And also, if you have anything important that you want to bring up during the broadcast, please add the letter Q at the beginning so that we can identify it. If we don't get to it during the broadcast, we get to it shortly thereafter. I'm usually accompanied by my sidekick Luna, but she is in bed this morning. She is still not willing to do her part, but she's usually in charge of the show notes, which I make available to you after each broadcast in case you want to read more on any of the headlines that we are sharing. Let me see who's in the house. Of course, Raymond, our favorite baker, is in the house.
El panadero con el pan.
Yes, Raymond is our favorite panadero con el pan. I love it. Let's see who else is here. John says, so Bernie Sanders at Mantamara and Hotel Mercurio, he's everywhere. Oh, yes, Bernie Sanders has been around, and I'm going to show you how you were almost able to put Bernie Sanders in your front lawn, but those plans got sabotaged this morning. We'll get to that in a second. Good morning, Christine. I am feeling for the state of Guanajuato because I read on the paper that things are really challenging for you guys as far as COVID-19 is concerned. I hope you're well, and I hope you're keeping yourself well balanced and calm, and most importantly, safe. Let's see who else is here. Enrique is here. Happy Friday. Welcome. ¿Qué onda, Alan? Alan is getting scheduled for his first vaccine. Congratulations. I love it. Good morning. Lots of friends traveling to Mexico and pleased with the COVID protocol, says Paula. We'll get to talk about that in a few minutes. This is wonderful. Yes, I just read about this. Hank Aaron, the slugger, I believe, who just passed away. Let's see, what else do we have? Mike says he's not new, but barely used. I love it. Welcome, Mike. It is a pleasure to see you here. Let's see. Bam, ba-dum, bam, bim, bam, boom, bam, boom, boom. A lot of great hellos. Thank you very much. Nice to see you yesterday, Gayoff. I'm so glad that you guys are hanging in there with all the restrictions, but I am so glad that you guys are willing to do your part to make sure that the city continues to be safe for most of us as far as COVID-19 restrictions are concerned. So we might as well get started. There are news coming from our governor, who went live or presented a video last night. We have some news about more news about Puerto Vallarta safety or lack of thereof. Important news for private companies that wish to purchase their own vaccines. The church gets in the mix, trying to get vaccines happening and all kinds of goodies. So we might as well get started with the news. Well, as I mentioned yesterday, Governor Alfaro published a video yesterday on his Facebook page, as I mentioned earlier today, not yesterday, where Governor Alfaro talked about a couple of important things. Number one, the fact that 85% of all medical personnel will be vaccinated by week's end. And this allows the state of Jalisco to continue with the rest of public hospital medical personnel and start vaccinating private hospital personnel as well. He mentioned that the government is going to start working on new support, help, financial, economic help for those businesses that had to close during the current restriction period. And he was very emphatic about a couple of things. Number one, people that feel they might have symptoms, he is asking that you call the hotline, not 911. 911 is reserved for medical emergencies. And number two, apparently he's been fielding a lot of phone calls from health clubs, from bars, from other kinds of businesses that are closed right now, saying we're going to protest, and we're going to go to the streets, and we're going to go to that, and so forth and so on. And the governor has said, number one, this is not a unilateral. Uh, um, oh, uh, never mind. I'll get to that in a second. You see, you guys, I get so easily distracted in a good way by your wonderful comments. Anyhow, back to the governor. Um, a lot of businesses that have had to close down are thinking of going to the streets and doing a manifestation or something or other. And the governor has said, number one, this is not a unilateral decision. It's not the governor saying you guys have to close. It is a panel of knowledgeable people in the matters of health and in the matters of economy that make these decisions. And number two, for people to go out and demonstrate and manifest and protest on the streets, it's just going to make things worse, because people that go out and gather and congregate on the street just increase the odds of the pandemic to spread. So if you happen to be one of those business sectors that has had to close down, the governor is just asking for people to sit tight. This is for the better being, or for the well-being rather, of the state of Jalisco. I know he said that some people feel that it is personal, or that the governor himself is doing these things, and that is not the case. In local news, we find out that there is even more. This whole business of how our mayor, Arturo Dávalos, has handled security and well-being of our city during his 5 years continues to be opening all kinds of Pandora's boxes. Puerto Vallarta has had 5 chiefs of security in 5 years. So the papers continue to tarnish the record of our mayor as far as public security is concerned. And this article has a breakdown of who these different security chiefs have been in Davalos's mandate as a mayor. And of course, you can read the details. The bottom line is that we're hoping that with the latest iteration of safety in Puerto Vallarta, we'll do better than we were in the past. Along other lines, I wanted to brief you in on what's going on with Mexico's Electoral College and our president. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the fact that our president brought up Twitter on his morning press conference and mentioned that one of the Twitter directors happens to be in alignment with a different political party. Well, during Mexico's electoral period, which we're going through right now, the Mexican Electoral College forbids that public officers members of the government should make public statements against other parties. It is not allowed. And this is a controversial matter because some people might view it as censorship, while other people might view it as just being fair to all the political parties. Let me explain. If the president of Mexico has a daily press conference where he is talking about advances or problems or challenges or solutions or news, that is one thing. If the president of Mexico or any political figure during electoral um, periods in Mexico happens to go on live or in front of others and starts criticizing a different party, that is not allowed. So presently, there is a fair amount of back and forth going on between the president and the electoral college as to whether the president can say what he expects to say during his so-called mañaneras or morning briefings, because more than once has the president brought up issues that had nothing to do with work, that had more to do with politics. So this is one of those delicate situations in which we want the president of Mexico to do his job as a president. We don't want the president of Mexico or any official, government official, to be trashing other parties while they're supposed to be doing their job. It's complicated to explain and it's complicated to assimilate, but I just want to let you know because we are starting the presidential, not the presidential, we're starting the intermediate elections this year. They will happen on July, no, on June 6th, and 15 governors will be elected, and over 21,000 government officials will be elected on that day. So it's going to be one of those years as far as elections are concerned. Let me stop briefly and take a look at your comments because we're going to switch over to COVID stuff, and I want to make sure that we are keeping you well informed. Let's see. This is what was making me chuckle earlier. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, Albert, but gay off will always be gay off to me, and I'm not changing that. How is church planning on distributing ashes during shutdown? Uh, you mean like Ash Wednesday and stuff like that, or are you thinking about something else, Alan? We don't. I'm not entirely sure as to what you are referring to right now. So if you can elaborate, I would appreciate it very much. Um, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Indeed, this was announced, and we are waiting to see exactly how this is going to unfold. A major program to assist small and medium businesses. Um, let's see. Judging from the crowds on the street, doesn't look like everyone is sitting tight. Is this another one of your jokes, William, that I don't get? Or what's going on? What's going on, William? Do tell us. Let's see what else is going on. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I think we are. Isn't it the job of opposition parties to criticize? Yes, Brad, that is the job of opposition parties, but there are places where it is allowed and places where it is not allowed. And that's just the way it is handled in Mexico. If the president goes on and live in front of the press or stuff like that, the president is expected to talk about accomplishments and his work and so forth and so on. But if he starts throwing dirt at other people, then he's considered to be campaigning, and that is not allowed during this electoral period. Matthew says Alan means ashes from cremation. Ash Wednesday is coming up in a few weeks. I don't. There you go. So Matthew Allen was talking about Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday is indeed coming up in a few weeks. I have no idea what the church is going to do. It is quite possible that church will not be able to celebrate Ash Wednesday. we're just going to have to wait and see. But the church has been putting pressure in other areas, as we will discuss in a second. Let me continue with the headlines. Of course, Joe Biden is on board now, and Joe Biden is signing all kinds of things. And one of the things that Joe Biden has signed is he's the expectation that people traveling to the United States are not only expected to have a proof of being COVID negative through a test, but they will also be expected to quarantine as they enter the United States and remain in self quarantine during a period that has not been disclosed in this news item. But bottom line is, if you are flying back into the United States, just as if you are flying into Canada, you are expected to quarantine, and you are expected to do this on your own. How this will affect or not affect tourism in Puerto Vallarta is something that we're going to have to see, um, wait and see. Just how people react to this notion. Um, our own president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, has given authorization to private enterprises, private businesses, and local governments to purchase COVID vaccines on their own if they wish to do so. That means that if you are a large company and you have the moolah to go out and buy your own vaccines, you can do this. In another news note that I didn't download, I saw that Hugo Lopez Gatel, our uh, the person in charge of health in Mexico, the undersecretary of health, actually, has said that this notion of governors and private companies going on their own and buying their own vaccines is going to uh, take away the evenness. It's going to make complications for the federal program. We'll have to see exactly what happens with that. But as meanwhile, the plan to vaccinate continues moving forward as we've been announcing. So little by little, the vaccine is being deployed in different states. We looked at the strategy presented by the Air Force yesterday, and we plans continue to be moving forward. Let me see what else we have. Yes, this is the news item that I wanted to share. Of course, the church in Mexico has said, we want priests vaccinated with priority because we tend to people with COVID as well. Needless to say, if you are very religious, you're bound to defend this notion. If you are not religious, you're bound to think, well, wait a second, you are not saving lives, and this is going to open a big can of worms. We do not know if the church will be able to obtain this prioritization to have priests vaccinated or not, but we will just have to wait and see. Let me take a quick look at your comments so that we can be on the same page. Yes, Canada has a 14-day mandatory quarantine, and as I announced, the United States is headed in that direction. Paul pretty much nails it as far as um, international tourism. I think a lot of places that rely on international tourism are going to be having a very difficult 2021. Let us hope that we're able to restore confidence as much as we can, and keep things keep things happening. William says, Paco, that is not true. There is no mandatory quarantine for people returning to the USA. Actually, William, I beg to differ. I have read from 5 or 6 news sources that President Biden has signed um, a decree that will expect this in the near future. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Oh, it is not mandatory, it is recommended. Well, hopefully that will be the case. Regardless, it is expected. If I said mandatory by mistake, I apologize. But um, but it is happening. It is happening. Let's see what else. Do tourists have to quarantine upon arriving in Puerto Vallarta? No, they do not. Let's see. Paul has heard of this. Oh, Paul, this is first. Paul has heard of this. Again, I read it in 3 or 4 different outlets. Let's see what else. Mandatory would be nearly impossible to enforce, especially in Republican ran states. Again, um, I don't want to dive too deeply into this because we are mostly concerned here with things that are happening in Puerto Vallarta and in Mexico, and not so much things or mandates that are happening in other countries. But we mention it because we think it is important to some of us here in this cluster, along with the fact that Yahoo News has published this item in which airlines say some travelers are shunning Mexico vacations due to new COVID test requirement, which comes to confirm a lot of the things that we are discussing here. Unfortunately, the United States may be doing now what the previous government failed to do and is trying to pretty much protect its citizens as much as possible. Let me very quickly jump over to the weather so we can continue with our broadcast. Let's see. It is 25 degrees Celsius, feels like 26, and it's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is at 50%. And let's see, our weather forecast for today is clear through the day with a high temperature 29, low temperature 18. Tomorrow, Saturday, will be clear through the day, high temperature of 28, low temperature of 18. And then Sunday, it'll also be clear through the day with a high temperature of 27, low temperature 16. We can't complain about this beautiful weather that we are having. And let's see what else we have. There is well, yes, of course, there's been a lot of um, controversy about supermarkets that are not allowing seniors to enter the supermarket. This is reported by Noticias Pepe that every day at Walmart um, there are discussions at the door because the personnel at the Walmart stores are not allowing people that are over 60 to walk into the store. Some people, and the article goes on to say that it's mostly um, international shoppers. Uh, I was not there, so I cannot tell you who's doing it or who's not doing it. And some people are saying, "Well, I feel fine. You should let me in," et cetera, et cetera. And the response from the stores is pretty eloquent. We should not allow you because it's for your health. This is not the supermarket's policy. It is a policy presented by the government. So let me explain that in case you missed the memo or you haven't been watching the news. The government has determined that people over 60 are in danger from the virus, in more danger from COVID 19 than people that are younger. The government of our state has also deemed that people over 60 should stay home, and the government of our state has also deemed that businesses like supermarkets should not allow people over 60 to go shopping. Some supermarkets have offered alternatives, such as shopping for you if you give them a list and you wait outside. Other supermarkets have home delivery. But the bottom line is that if you are over 60, you cannot walk into a supermarket. And that's just the way it is, at least until the current period of restrictions ends at the end of the month. Let me take a quick look at some of your comments and see where we're at. Uh, do, 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 do. attracting domestic tourism is going to be the key to keeping places open. You're absolutely right, Matthew. And I know that smart businesses here in Puerto Vallarta who have always catered to national tourism are going to fare much better than those businesses that either chose not to cater to national tourism or didn't know how to. And that is just the bottom line. Let's see. The details of the USA quarantine is still being worked out according to the news. That makes perfect sense to me, Joe. The guy just walked into the White House yesterday. He just signed a piece of paper. We cannot expect things to be perfectly clear in 24 hours. Um, um, let's see. Thank you very much for that, Lorraine. I will definitely look into that. Um, did I miss the update on the story from the other day about El Chapo? Joe, I researched that and it must have been a weird gremlin from Excelsior, the newspaper, because um, everybody was correct. I just sort of looked at the news item and I read it. I didn't stop to access my own archives to think, well, wait a second, this can't be happening because it happened a few years ago. And you guys were correct. Why the Excelsior would publish that, we don't know. Was there a retraction? We don't know. Let's see what else we have. Uh, um, Thank you very much for that, Mike. But please let me offer a friendly reminder that we don't discuss foreign policy here. We're here to celebrate Puerto Vallarta and the wonderful things that happen here and how to best connect with this destination and with our country and our culture. Let's see, weather related questions. Have heard a couple of times as siren, followed by an announcement. Can you tell us if it was testing or, well, Carol, we don't have tsunami weather right now. We announced yesterday or the day before, I forget, we announced earlier this week that the Civil Protection Service is testing the tsunami alarms during this week. So you have nothing to worry about. It's just the tsunami warning tests. Let's see. In 8 years of living here, I've never heard it. Well, again, they don't test them very frequently, but because it's not like we have a lot of danger for tsunami here in Puerto Vallarta, but at some point it was decided that we should have those sirens. And I suppose it's comforting to know that they're still working. Let's see. Kate gets rhetorical. Why is there not quarantine time for visitors to PV? It leaves us open to more cases possibly coming in. Has AMLO explained why and I just missed it? Well, Kate, I didn't discuss that with AMLO in my last telephone call with him. He hasn't mentioned anything to me particularly. I'm just kidding. Um, Mexico has chosen as a country to be one of the least restrictive countries to date. Whether that'll change later on or not is beyond me to know or decide or explain or understand. Let's see what else do we have. Um, Pretty judgmental, Kimberly. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, so I can't comment on that. How does a store determine if you're over 60, if you could pass for under? I know that some stores are expecting you to show your ID as you walk in, and other stores are just, eyeing the population and making arbitrary decisions. Um, let's see what else. Um, Albert again offers a comforting suggestion, but again, I don't think it's open to debate. Albert, this is what the government has decided, and we're just messengers here. In Massachusetts, most supermarkets have senior citizens hours. Good for Massachusetts. This is Mexico, not Massachusetts. Let's see. Claude hopes adult people should be following guidelines. I totally agree. If you look younger, you should not go. It's still being selfish to others, my opinion only. I tend to side with your opinion. And Linda reminds us that there are tons of smaller markets and stores that will gladly meet you your food and essential needs. I mean, this is a great time to be shopping local instead of going to the big supermarkets. La, da, 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 da. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? Question: do you know anything about Sergio Bustamante other than he is an amazing artist? I've googled him, but not much info about him. Sergio Bustamante is he is a big enterprise. He is a sculptor that has decided to launch a line of stores and so forth and so on. And if you want, I can do some research about him and bring back a nice report. Just write the word Sergio Bustamante on your comments, and I'll be happy to do some homework. Um, let's see. You are right, Paco. I think the decision to let everybody in Mexico is the cause of so much COVID in Mexico. Um, Again, these are decisions made by the federal government, so it's difficult to comment on things that we have not much control over. Uh, if we remember, does it automatically renew, or do we need to renew automatic manually? Thank you very much for your support, Kathleen. Don't worry, you will renew automatically until you choose not to. And if you choose not to, on our frequently asked questions page, there is a way in which you can stop being a member of Coffee and Headlines. But thank you very much for your support. You have nothing to worry about. Um, uh, Matthew talks about guidelines for Mexico City. Again, this is just a reminder that the state of Jalisco dances to its own tune as decided by our governor, and this is what the governor has decided. Seniors or people over 60 cannot go into supermarkets until the end of the month. And let's see, I was going to show you. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Sergio Bustamante will do some research of about Sergio Bustamante. What is the point of having guidelines if you're going to Nayarit to shop? That's so wrong of anyone doing that. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Claude. It's kind of like this whole thing of, let's go to Mexico because Mexico doesn't have any guidelines, and now Mexico has the COVID that we have. Maybe if Mexico had tighter guidelines, we wouldn't have the COVID problems that we have. It's difficult to know. It's difficult to know. And there's always going to be people that are going to try to circumvent what the government expects you to do. And there are always businesses that are going to do that for better or worse. And all we can do is take care of ourselves and worry about our own well being. That has been my point of view for some time and continues to be our point of view. But I will add 2 cents, if I may, for everyone or anyone, and I don't mean to finger point, everyone on anyone in Puerto Vallarta that is feeling a little upset with the current restrictions. Don't forget that just 2 months ago, you were counting days to come back to what you call paradise. So if you're letting a little inconvenience like rain on your parade, then why were you so happy to call the place paradise when you were getting itchy to come here? I'm wondering. And another thing that may be an interesting point of comparison, we could be living in Cancun. And let us remember that Cancun during the last year, aside from having to deal with the same fucking quarantine that we're dealing with, Cancun had to struggle and survive through 2 hurricanes, one tropical storm, one bad case of Gulf weed, and Sahara sand because of some freak sandstorms that carried Sahara sand all the way to Mexican coasts. So, for anyone that is feeling a little testy because of a few restrictions here in Puerto Vallarta that will last until the end of the month, suck it up. And I mean that in the best possible way. There are always alternatives out there. There are always alternatives. You need to go shopping, there are small stores. You want to do it yourself, send a friend. Um, just look around it. And we are in a really, really good place compared to some other places in Mexico, and not to mention other places in the world. The last headline that I had for you, I was going to show you how about this wonderful website that allowed you to put in your address, and it would return with a a photograph of Bernie Sanders sitting on your front lawn, but unfortunately, the website to had to close down because the website was designed by a college student, and because he was using an API, which is a component of Google that Google charges for. So many people wanted to put Bernie Sanders in their front lawn that he had to close it down. He doesn't have any money to make it run, and ni modo, we were able to create some really funny photographs yesterday with Bernie Sanders in front of businesses here in Puerto Vallarta, but we cannot do it anymore. Let me take a quick look at your final comments. Uh, let's see. Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. So, Bette Midler and the mariachi concert yesterday. Thank you very much, Michael. It always makes my day when we recommend something and you folks enjoy it. Thank you very much for following up on that. Uh, Suzanne is right. If people would follow protocol, it would end faster. Um, yeah, da 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 da. Suck it up the best possible way. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Kimberly says, I love the street stores for produce. Absolutely. They are great shopping experiences that you can go and explore. And thank you for the shout out for Pig Out Groceries. Absolutely. They do the shopping for you and they bring it to your house. Um, let's see what else. I think we're done. I think we're done. Yay. Well, this was another edition of Coffee and Headlines. As always, I welcome the opportunity to share my personal point of view, but I try to keep my personal point of view out of the way. Ultimately, what we want you to find here is clarity in news and information, and credibility in news and information. And if I may, a little bit of perspective, because it's so easy to complain about our surroundings and complain about what's happening right around us when there are other places that are just not as fortunate as we are. Let us stay fortunate. Let us stay thankful of the lives that we do have, and let us hang out and hopefully weather this one. And I am sure we can weather this one. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon, maybe even tomorrow. Have a good day.